Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and Television Industry. For Lynn Warren, let's roll this again, guys. So let's again talk about one of our favorite topics, auditioning and the process. And I'm here to help you dispel some myths about the audition room. So, we get handed a scene and we know what we're doing. We go in and audition, and they like the audition so much that they hand you a second scene to read. What do? Well, there's a couple things, right? So first you go, hey, can I have a few moments out in the hallway to read and look over this scene? And they're always going to say yes. I've never been told no. I've never heard of anyone being told no. And if they say no, I mean, you're even at a better advantage because they know that you have not read this scene. They're not dumb. They know you're handing you something new, right? And so to be off book or to even have great cold reading skills necessarily on something that you haven't read yet is not really going to be asked of you. But hopefully you will get those few minutes out in the hallway, right? And so what you want to work on is the stuff you've already worked on. Okay, you know what your character is. Obviously, you're already giving them something that they really, really like, or they wouldn't have you read a second scene, right? So they want to see you do something a little different with the character maybe, or a different emotion, right? See if you can be a detective, figure out, well, why this scene is the second scene? And if it's a callback, and especially if the writer's in the room and you come back, you want to go to the writer and say, hey, is it okay for me to paraphrase this just a little bit so that I can get the character across? I don't like doing that. I'd rather be off book, but since I just got these sides, I just want to get an okay for you to do that. And they're always going to say yes to that because they're like, well, yeah, we want to see you play the character. We're not going to expect you to memorize 3 to 5 pages in like the 5 minutes that you're out of the room, though there are actors who can do that. Scary enough, I am not one of them. So it's okay to throw the words away if they have you do a new scene and play the emotion and paraphrase. And this is something that you should be working on before this ever happens to you. So get together with a friend, or if you're in a great audition class, they would have already had you do this. Go in with a scene, like assign each other scenes and then have a scene in your back pocket. Put yourselves on tape, practice being in the audition room, and then throw the second scene at the other person and then see how you do with it. And get stronger. Acting is a muscle, guys. Keep flexing those muscles. Charming is disarming. And in this industry, we hear a lot about actors being, oh gosh, they were so charming and they just walked in the room and they just had this it factor. And some people are naturally born with this little glow that they have, and we can sit there and hate them all we want. Or we could try to take some of this into our own hands and become a person that people want to be around and that they're really attracted to. And this includes casting directors, agents, managers, directors, and so forth. So a great book on this, and it's read by all the great business people, of course, but it's well known, and I'm sure you've heard of it. It's by Dale Carnegie. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. So there's really 6 key points. So I'm going to give you guys kind of like my cliff notes on the book, though I highly recommend you read it and take it from an actor's point of view because it'll make networking a lot less painful and just getting to know other people. And the first thing is you want to be genuinely interested in other people, like have a curiosity about them. As actors, when you're walking in the room, you're like, it's all about me, and you need to let that shit go. And when you're in the room and even during an audition, you need to be so interested in that casting director and what their job is and in helping them. It's going to make you seem a bit more charming than maybe you naturally are. Because that's the thing about charming people, right? They seem to look into our eyes and look into our soul, and they make you swoon, and it's because they really are interested in you and who you are, right? The second thing is smile. It's amazing what a smile can do. It's also amazing how many actors walk into an audition and they're all gloom and doom. Now, I've had auditions where I have to be in that emotional place, right? So I go in, I slate very, I guess you could say like blank, I get into the emotion, I do my scene, I hopefully nail it. And as soon as I know I've nailed that performance and I'm out of that scene, and like it's kind of like, scene, I look up at the casting director and I smile so that they know underneath all that they just saw is a really nice, awesome person. So the third thing is that remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. So when you are at an event, I know it's so hard to get all the names, at least pick one person and be like, all right, I am going to know this person's name, and then use it as often as you can, but not in a creepy way. You don't want to keep saying it so much where they're like, oh my God, that person's saying my name so much. But if you're like, hey, Jessica, can you hand me that bottle of water? Oh, Jessica, it was so nice to meet you. People like hearing the sound of their name. And it can be really, really to your advantage if you're walking into an audition. And, if you're thanking the casting director, if you thank them by name as you're walking out the door, and you thank the director by name, or the producer, the front desk girl who signed you in, thank them by name, because that is going to make an impression. The fourth reason or way to get people to like you is to be a good listener. Human beings like to talk, right? And a lot of times we are trying to figure out what we want to say to somebody else without really listening to what they are saying to us. So I beg you to practice as a skill to not be so eager. And you can practice this with your best friends, because usually they're the ones that it's almost hardest with, because you get with them and you just want to tell them all the stories, that's happened to you during the week. I charge you to get together with a friend this week and just really be interested in them, smile, use their name, and then just listen. Be there to listen to all their stories, and you'll be amazed at like what they'll open up about. And, later they'll be like, oh my gosh, I love so-and-so so much. They're such a good listener. We hear that all the time. It's because when people listen to us, we like them. The fifth thing is that you want to talk in terms of other people's interests. Now, in the film industry, obviously, we're all interested in film, but be careful, because a lot of us can get film fatigue, or we're just tired about talking about the same things all the time. So gauge and see what that person seems to want to talk about, right? So if they're wearing, something that has a sports team on it and you love sports teams, then go ahead, talk about sports teams, because you already know they're interested in sports. They're advertising it with their clothing. Or if they have a certain label, or I don't know why I'm stuck on clothing right now, or they bring something up in conversation, or you've done your homework, you know who's going to be at an event before you go there, and then you happen to run into so-and-so, and they love, knitting, and you happen to know something about knitting. That's what you guys can talk about. And if you talk about their interests and you don't force somebody to talk about something you're interested in and they're not, then you're going to be much more charming, right? And the sixth thing is you want to make the other person feel important, and you want to do it sincerely. A lot of times in this town, we get fed up. They're like, oh, I hate going out because everyone is all about themselves and blah, blah, blah. And it's usually because these people are walking around, they're like, oh, what can everybody do for me? And it's not, what can I do for everyone around me? And we've talked about this before on the podcast. When you walk into a situation with an attitude of service and you're like, how many people in this room can I help? That's when you're going to start to make other people feel important, and your sincerity will be real. So our last little subject today is it's going to have to do with all of my friends out there, all of you actor friends listening in the podcast world, and you're at a table with your friends and everyone's looking down and staring at your phones. You'd rather text your boyfriend or girlfriend instead of actually see them. It's amazing how much of our time is spent online, which is great. I love connecting, quote unquote, connecting with people on Facebook. Or the thing is, here's the thing. You're not connecting with them on Facebook. You're just getting updates on their life, which is awesome when maybe your family lives like mine does in Pennsylvania and you don't have time to be sending letters back and forth, and I can look and see what my nieces and nephews are up to. I can see their birthday party pictures and I can feel connected to them in that way. But that's not true emotional intimacy. In the game in Tinseltown in Hollywood, the game is emotional intimacy. In a way, your competition is becoming less and less because we're competing against people who are connecting more with their smartphones than they are with the human beings in the world. And there might be one audition in 5,000 where you'll be asked to connect with a smartphone in an audition room. You're going to be being asked to connect with a person. So I beg you, if you want to be a great actor, you need to put your phones down, close your laptops, and especially if you have actor friends, you guys do this, talk to them about this. Be like, guys, we're professional actors. Our job is emotional intimacy. We don't get together enough and we don't talk. And you should get together, put your phones away, and have a real conversation. Like really talk and really engage with one another, because that is possibly the greatest acting exercise that you can do, is just to go out and be human and not be like this zombie cyborg that we all seem to be turning into when we're staring at our Instagrams and we're trying to count our likes, because that's not going to help us get work. But being able to walk into an audition room and not being afraid to talk to a human being because you're out talking to human beings in the world, unlike everyone else in the audition room that are scrolling through Instagram instead of focusing on the work, you'll be so much more ahead of everyone else. So that is all today. Thank you again for your time and attention. Please rate and review this podcast. Even if you hate it, give me a 1 star. It's fine. At least I know somebody doesn't like me. But if you don't like me, tell me what I can do better so that I can improve. So break a leg out there, everyone. And remember, you are not alone.